Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. I'm Evan Ash, joined as always by Corey Puffett and Eric Meyer. And first of all, I guess we have to explain our missed week last week. Corey was a little ill and has fully bounced back, I think.
I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm negative. I'm testing negative at this point, and no signs of me still being sick, but still a lot of post effects from it. It messed me up pretty good. So yes, I guess I don't need to be shady with it. I had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had the thing that a lot of people have had over the past 3 years that I had avoided for the better part of 3 years.
It's as if it's a global pandemic or something.
You would think.
Sports ballers have had a pretty good track record of avoiding the vid. I only had it 6 weeks ago, and now Corey got it. Evan,
knock on wood.
Careful, buddy.
Evan has been good so far. Hopefully that continues.
Evan has proclaimed himself as social distancing champion for the last 31 years. So,
as you guys travel the globe in search of all these credits but to be fair, you guys do stand in you go in the fast pass lanes, so you
and
don't
we're
have
outside, so that helps.
You're outside, and you're not standing next to any one person for 15 minutes because the fast pass lane always runs faster than that.
Yeah, we just cruise right by them, and they look mad.
And it's a delight. Hoping we don't come off as pretentious, obnoxious jerks who bought the fast lane. But pay more money.
I'm well enough for us to get back to podcasting, which is good because we've got a pretty big event this week. If anybody hasn't heard.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome.
The biggest news this week: Orioles CEO John Angelos and brother Lou agreed to dismiss legal dispute. So make of that what you will.
Maybe the biggest baseball news of the week.
Biggest news for us.
Actually, it's probably not even the biggest baseball news of the week. The biggest baseball news is probably that Shohei Ohtani is going to make one Cactus League start and then leave for Japan for the World Baseball Classic.
Good
for him. Yeah, I can't wait to see him. I love me some World Baseball Classic. It's fun.
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic 6 years ago now was a delight. Thoroughly enjoyed it, so looking forward to that. So anyways, this coming Sunday, a little thing called the Super Bowl is happening. Perhaps you've heard of it. So that'll be the meat and potatoes of our show. As usual, the NFL carries the day. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles going at it around 6:30 p.m. Eastern in Glendale, Arizona. These were the 2 1 seeds in the each side of the playoff bracket. So, it wasn't, neither one of these teams is a surprise to be here.
No, neither of them is a surprise, in a bubble, but it's not that typical for both 1 seeds to face each other in the Super Bowl. We haven't seen that very often over the past decade. Maybe once or twice in the past 10 years.
We saw it in 2016.
It's happened more often.
We saw it in 2017.
Yeah. But still, that's 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's also the Eagles.
It was also the
Eagles, yeah. Recently, it has not happened all that often. Because when the Bucks won, they were a wild card.
Yep.
And then last year, the Rams were not the 1 seed. Neither the Bengals definitely weren't.
And even going back to Seahawks Broncos, the Seahawks weren't the 1 seed that year, were they?
Yeah, they were.
They were?
Yeah, they're the 1 seed.
Okay, so that might have been the last time before 2017 that both 1 seeds were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and actually no, Panthers, Broncos, both 1 seeds were there too. That was 2015.
The Broncos were a 1 seed that year?
That's the only reason they got there, because they didn't have to go to Foxborough.
Wow.
If they had gone to Foxborough, they would have lost.
I completely forgot they were 1 seed. They weren't that, like...
Their defense was amazing, but Peyton was washed. They got
Peyton was washed,
and
then Brock Lobster had a couple decent games, and then he was bad.
They got really lucky. They were obviously, the defense was fantastic, but they got really...
What was their record that year?
They went 12-4.
Really?
Yeah, they went 12-4. They squeaked out so many wins.
I couldn't see that team winning more
against
than
these crummy teams, but they got it done.
Wow.
The Patriots blew their last 2 games, like where Belichick didn't even try. It was probably the worst coaching I've ever seen him do, and it all cost them home field advantage, and they ended up losing in Denver by 2. So, probably would have won if the game was in Foxborough, but that's how the cookie crumbles. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Saints Colts was also a 1
well, yeah, that was
1,
06
that was
or
09.
09.
Yeah, so that was a little while ago.
Yeah.
So games happening this decade.
This year.
What do y'all
this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do y'all think of this week's Super Bowl? I honestly think people are kind of sleeping on the Eagles, myself included, having bet against them in their previous 2 games.
People are sleeping on the Eagles. I'm sleeping on the Eagles.
Meaning you are people, because we picked the Eagles last week.
The Eagles are also favored right now. Like, the line has been holding pretty steady at minus 1.5.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna wait until later this week to make our official picks. So we won't make those picks tonight. We'll make some different picks tonight. But that line is held pretty firm.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like
I think the Eagles are way better than Kansas City. Like, the Eagles are an absolute wagon in all phases of the game.
Yeah, I think they're a much better team. And while Jalen Hurts has maybe been a little bit less effective than he was during the bulk of the regular season, he's still played well. He played well in the conference championship game, played pretty well in the divisional game. He played fine in the little bit of action he got in week 18. Like, I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts at this point. I'm worried about the Chiefs. I'm worried about their defense.
Their defense is about to get toasted, if you ask me.
2 teams have ever won the Super Bowl. I think it's ever, at least in the last decade or 2, have won a Super Bowl. It was since 93. Since 1993, two quarterbacks have ever won a Super Bowl with a defense that ranked in the bottom half of the league in points per drive allowed. And both of their last names was Manning.
Oh.
The Eagles rank in the top half of the league in that metric. The Chiefs rank in the bottom half of that league in that metric. Chiefs have an uphill battle.
It's almost as if defense wins championships. Imagine that.
Certainly helps.
defense didn't win championships the last time the Chiefs played a good defensive team, the 49ers. They won that game.
That is true.
Well, because Jimmy G can't throw.
The Chiefs were still in the top half of the league in that particular metric.
Regardless, the point is defense is not what decides things. What decides things is who's got the best players. And the Chiefs right now, because of their injuries, might not have the best players. They've got Patrick Mahomes, who is the best player overall, but the question is, how healthy is he? He's had a couple weeks to rest up his ankle sprain, but I'm not confident that that's going to make him 100% or even close. I think he's still going to be limited with his mobility.
High ankle sprains notoriously take a long time.
It's a 4 to 6 week injury
recover. Usually.
It's not a 3-week injury, and more importantly, it's not a 2-week injury because he re-aggravated it during the AFC Championship game. So, that's the big thing that has me concerned for the Chiefs is the injuries. We know that McCole Hardman is out. Juju Smith-Schuster didn't practice at all last week. So, really, the only receivers that they have, I guess, would be MVS and Travis Kelce, if you consider him a receiver, because he effectively is.
Yeah.
And that's,
what about Kadarius Toney?
Well, he also got hurt. He also got hurt, and he's not a guy that I would rely upon. But I will say that that's the only reason why I'm not strongly considering just going all in on the Chiefs, because I think if they were healthy, they would boat race the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Really?
And the reason I feel that way is because I've seen the Eagles act before. Their names were the 2019 Baltimore Ravens, the 2015 Carolina Panthers, the 2010 New England Patriots. Hell, you could even throw in the 2016 Atlanta Falcons. A bunch of teams that were really good, had a lot of good players, never got tested. Went the whole season, cruised through it. Didn't play good quality opponents. didn't have a moment where you were worried about their season. Got the top seeds, got to the Super Bowl, or not even got to the Super Bowl, and as soon as something went wrong, one little thing went wrong, that ball tips off of Mark Andrews' hands. Tom Brady overthrows Welker on the screen and it gets picked off. The team shuts down. They lose it. They have earned no resolve. Nothing has happened for the Eagles this year to suggest they can handle adversity. It's never happened in the history of football where a team got to the Super Bowl and won it without earning some battle scars. They haven't earned them. They didn't earn them last year. They didn't earn them this year. I do not trust them.
I mean, don't ask Lane Johnson's groin about earning battle scars. My goodness gracious. He's playing with a torn groin that needs surgery. Like, guess better his than mine, but still.
My point still stands. When it hits the fan out there, it helps to have been in that situation before. We know the Chiefs have. The Chiefs have had to deal with Mahomes' injuries. They've had to deal with tough losses. They had a brutal game they choked away last year. They had the Bills game that was a debacle that they managed to pull out. They lost to the Bucs in the Super Bowl. They've been there. They've been tested. They've had their hearts broken. That hadn't happened to Philly.
But with the exception of the Bengals last week, who have the Chiefs beaten that are like a high-quality opponent?
I mean, you can't just say aside from the Bengals, that was the second best team in the conference.
But the Eagles did play against some decent teams and won. They beat the Vikings.
The Vikings, come on.
I know the Vikings are frauds, but they destroyed the Vikings. They were part of the reason why the Vikings had a negative point differential.
Yes, along with all the other good teams that beat the crap out of them. Come on, man. The Vikings.
They beat the Packers in the middle of the season when the Packers were actually playing sort of decently.
They went 8-9.
I know the Packers.
They lost to the Lions,
but
at home.
You can't really fault a team when they don't get a chance to play against a good team. They beat all the teams that they were supposed to beat.
I'm not saying...
The one exception was the Cowboys without Jalen Hurts.
I'm not saying...
And they still gave them a run.
Yeah, and they gave up a 3rd and 30 or whatever to T.Y. Hilton. I'm not saying that the Eagles aren't good. I'm not saying that they deserve a ton of crap for playing a relatively light schedule. I have concerns. History is not on their side when it comes to this. I've never seen it happen. We've seen teams be wagons, go into the playoffs, and then... all of a sudden, Von Miller's beating the left tackle and Cam Newton's putting the ball on the ground, and they never recovered. Like the whole game, they were out of sorts because something went wrong, and nothing has gone wrong for them in months.
The Eagles did have a couple squeakers this year. Remember week 1 against the Lions? They only won by 3.
But during those first 3 weeks, the Lions' offense was a wagon, and then they fell off for a few weeks.
And that wasn't a squeaker. The Eagles were up by 10. The Lions scored a touchdown in the last 30 seconds to cut it to 3.
Okay. They beat the Cardinals by 3.
Yeah, that was a goofy game. Again, but that was months ago. We're talking about the last few months. The Baltimore Ravens started 2-2 in 2019. Then they won 12 in a row. They were beating the crap out of everybody.
But the Eagles haven't been beating the crap out of everybody. They beat the Bears by 5. They beat the Packers by 7.
They still beat just about everybody. They won, 15-2?
They never were.
There was never any concern that they were not going to get the 1 seed. They were going to cruise the 1 seed. I'm just saying, this historically has not gone well for teams in the Eagles' position. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's a concern.
I am not buying it.
I've given you several examples.
Okay, yeah.
You haven't provided any counters.
But you haven't been listening to the counters.
You haven't given me any.
The Eagles have had some squeakers this season.
And they've won this season does not count as adversity. I'm talking like, wow, we're down bad because we just lost a game that we shouldn't have lost.
They lost to Washington.
I'm talking about we are legitimately concerned about our Super Bowl chances because of how we're playing right now. When has Philly ever been in that situation?
I mean, not this year, but they're actually
good. It hasn't happened this year. The whole season they've been running away with the conference. They were 9-0. They were never. There was never a threat. That's like saying the Panthers had adversity because they lost that one random game to the Falcons. They went 15-1. Man, they cruised. The Eagles have cruised all year.
I mean, I think they're going to continue cruising, right? I
Over
bet on
Patrick
the Eagles
Mahomes,
a week and a half ago.
One of the 5 best quarterbacks we've probably ever seen play football. They're going to cruise over him. over Andy Reid, arguably a top 5 coach of all time. They're going to
Did you not
cruise
watch
over
the
him.
Super Bowl against the Buccaneers a couple years ago?
Andy Reid is not.
Mahomes and Reid were out there that night.
Doesn't want to lose to his former team. I keep, for some reason, I keep thinking Sirianni was on Reid's staff at some point, but no, he was a Colt.
No.
Although, that's another guy to consider, though. Hey, he's all swag-tastic right now, right? With the head nodding and the bucking. Well, we saw what happens when he gets a little nervous. When the heat gets turned up a little bit in his first press conference, he couldn't speak English.
Come on, you're gonna talk about like this was months ago with the Lions game.
That was months ago.
That was literally a year. That was 2 years ago now.
I'm using it. I don't trust him. I think
Nick Sirianni has earned our trust at this point.
In the Super Bowl against Andy Reid,
he is not on your list.
Of course not.
And like half of the NFL's coaches are on your list.
No, only a quarter, and some of them got fired recently, so it's only a quarter.
You had like 16 people on that list at one point.
No, because I added some college dudes. Like that was the problem. I added Ryan Day to Evan asked me to add Ryan Day, and I obliged. I also added Jim Harbaugh because that was ridiculous too. But no, I'm sticking by what I said. This feels like one team's battle tested, the other one's not. Just saying. You know, that should be a point of concern. If it's not, well, I feel if you think that the Eagles are just gonna, because their personnel is better and they're just gonna overpower the Chiefs, I can't really argue that point because on paper, the Eagles are better. They're better at just about every position. The only exception is probably quarterback and tight end. Every other position group, I'm taking Philly. But, again, things go off the rails in football games. We talk about it all the time. It's an oblong ball that bounces funny, and we kick it around and throw it around and,
sometimes
tackle
snap
people.
it through the end zone on the first play of the Super Bowl.
Yes,
the game is over.
I'm not going to put that Broncos team in the same category as everything went right, because they were going up against a team that was just a dominant defense and they weren't necessarily expected to win. But everything did go right pretty much that season until the ball got snapped over Peyton Manning's head. And then what happened? They didn't score until it was like 38-0 or something like that, or whatever. The 36-0 I think is when they finally got into the end zone. So
that was a sad day for me.
You're sitting there in your bright orange Peyton Manning Super Bowl jersey with your bleached blonde hair at my house. that was wild stuff. That game was just over, man. It was over right away, but we didn't really know it right away. We found out shortly after.
It didn't take very long to realize that it was over.
But anyway, that's how I feel about the Super Bowl. But do we want to talk about what we saw last time we actually watched real football, not whatever the Pro Bowl games were? Because I didn't watch
the Pro Bowl.
I'm not saying they weren't fun, although I didn't watch any of it. I'm just saying it's not real football. We can agree that's not real football, right?
2 weeks ago, in the conference championship games, the Eagles rolled over the 49ers after the 49ers' third-string quarterback, Brock Purdy, got injured with some sort of elbow something or other. And then the Chiefs beat the Bengals by 3 points at Arrowhead and not Burrowhead, you jabroni. So, those things happened a while ago now.
Yeah, they did happen a while ago.
That's what happens when you have that 1 week layover.
I know. It's bad enough that sometimes we don't, when stuff happens on, when we would record on Wednesday and then something interesting would happen Thursday. It's we got to wait 6 days to talk about this on the pod. Now we had to wait even longer this time because Corey just had to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Corey's the most careful person I know when it comes to COVID or anything like that. But yeah, that Bengals Chiefs game, that was a doozy.
It was a doozy. It was if I remember correctly, now my memory's fuzzy, but I feel like it was kind of a sloppy game, was it? It was close, but it wasn't close like the divisional game between the Chiefs and the Bills last year, for example.
Oh, yeah. Let's put it this way.
It's a different kind of game.
Joe Burrow was the worst quarterback at the conference championships according to DYAR on Football
Worse than
Outsiders. And Joe
Jim
Mixon
Johnson,
was the worst
whoever.
running back of the week by that same metric. And yet the Chiefs only won by 3. So you're facing the worst quarterback of the week and the worst running back of the week, and you could only win by 3. That is an indicator of a sloppy game.
Well, the thing is, let's be fair here. There's only 4 starting quarterbacks out there, and one of them died immediately. In Brock Purdy, he threw 3 passes?
I don't think they even counted
they probably
Brock
didn't
Purdy.
even count him. And then the other one was Josh Johnson, who threw not very many passes.
Who was still better than Joe Burrow, according to DYAR.
But Burrow was also facing a defense that's probably not as well respected by the metrics as either the 49ers or the Eagles. So their pass rush, that being Kansas City's, was dominant in that game. Chris Jones and Frank Clark and whoever else was just living in the backfield. I think Burrow took 4 sacks on his first 9 dropbacks.
Yeah, but the Bengals offensive line was all injured.
Yeah, and I feel like we overestimated, or maybe I shouldn't say, we underestimated how bad the injuries would cost them because we saw them hold up against the Bills, but that was in the snow. The pass rush couldn't get any traction, and so they held up in those conditions, but on a clean field against some very good pass rushers like Chris Jones, who's got an argument to be Defensive Player of the Year this year, that didn't happen. So Burrow got sacked like 6 times, I think, in total. He threw a couple picks, one of which was really ugly, and I assumed was going to be basically the end of the game. I believe I tweeted, "Thanks for coming out, Bengals," because the Chiefs were up by 10, and then there was a couple minutes left, and Corey said, "Yeah, they got to go get points here." And then Burrow throws a pick, and it's like, oh, great. Well, now the Chiefs are going to score a touchdown, go up 17, and get the ball to start the half. Yeah, we're done here. But then the Chiefs threw like 3 straight incompletions and had to punt from like the 45. And it was like, wow, that's not typically what you expect to see from Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then the Bengals got the ball off the punt and managed to go get points and make it a 7-point game, and eventually they tied it up. But yeah, it was a little sloppy. Kansas City's receivers all got hurt, like I mentioned. That could still carry an effect in the Super Bowl. I thought that the game was, the refs did not have a handle on the game at all.
Oh no!
Like they were. Oh my God! That was it's the second time this year that I think we saw in real time an officiating crew get absolutely rattled by the Arrowhead crowd. Like this was. I don't think they were like deliberately canning the game for the Chiefs. I don't believe that at all. I do believe that they lost their bearing on how to officiate.
Yeah.
Like especially with the whole. Like the 3rd and 9 play where the ref came in because the clock didn't start, and so he came in to blow it dead, and nobody heard the whistle. But
I didn't hear the whistle.
But nobody did anything. Like none of the refs actually bothered to say, hey, that play didn't count. The friggin' the offense and the defense came off the field. The punting units came on, and they were ready to punt the ball away before somebody said, oh, hey, by the way, that 3rd down stop didn't actually count.
Right.
I'm like, dude, no, come on. You got to take care of that almost immediately. I understand people didn't hear the whistle because it's loud and all that good stuff. I understand that, but you got to run in there and jump around and wave your hands and stuff and say, hey, stop playing football.
Yeah.
Like, this play
Why
didn't
didn't
count.
you keep blowing the whistle during the
Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Sheffers was the head official for this game, and he had to go out there and sheepishly say, oh, by the way, the play didn't count. Which Chiefs fans didn't care because they're the team that got stopped on 3rd down and they had to punt. And then the next play, Mahomes gets sacked, but they call Cincinnati for a ticky-tack holding call. And I'm like, it reminded me a little bit of the Purdue-Maryland football game earlier in the year where the refs deliberately made a bad decision that hosed one team and then doubled down on it. It's like, in this situation, they already earned the stop. Like, they ran the play and it worked. You've got to make the Chiefs earn this 1st down. You can't throw a flag in this situation. Read the room a little bit. But nope, flag came out. It ended up not mattering because the Chiefs once again went 3 and out despite having like 3 shots at a 3rd down conversion. But, it was a weird game. And then, of course, the penalty to basically clinched the game for Kansas City with
who was the player for the
Osai
Bengals?
Pushed Mahomes as he was going out of bounds. And again, this is a situation where
It wasn't even as he was going out of bounds.
He was thoroughly out of bounds.
He was thoroughly out of bounds.
Like,
there was no question about that call. You can't do that in that situation. Like, you got to know better.
You can't do that at all.
Yeah,
like
and
that's
the thing.
obviously
I sometimes
a penalty. We
I
can't say
sympathize.
the refs overdid it on the flag on this particular play. Like that's a penalty. You can't shove somebody once he's out of bounds.
Yeah, like I sympathize with the players sometimes when the player, or the ball carrier, whether it's a running back or quarterback, is heading towards the boundary. And because we saw what happened in the AFC Championship game in 2019, where Mahomes had the spectacular run for a touchdown. Well, that run was created because the defense pulled up because they thought he was going to go out of bounds, and then he didn't, and he scampered for an extra 15 yards into the end zone. Like, so I get in that situation, but Mahomes was so far out of bounds at this point. And yeah, he flopped a little bit, but whatever.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's what he's gonna do, right? Like if you push him, he's gonna I gotta make sure the ref sees me fall down, so I get this 15-yard penalty. And that's exactly what happened. It was a terrible mistake at the worst time for a young player who was fantastic during the game, who was a big part of the reason why Kansas City couldn't move the ball offensively. It's just too bad that it had to go down that way, but. Honestly, I feel like the Chiefs were probably going to win the game anyway. Like the Bengals had so many chances. They had 2 different opportunities with the game tied with the ball to drive, and one resulted in interception, and the other resulted in Burrow getting sacked on 3rd down by Chris Jones. So they had their chances. They didn't get it done. Kansas City deserved to win. They were the better team. Like, honestly, it would have felt like kind of like last year where if the Bengals had won, it would have felt like they stole it, and they didn't steal it. So Kansas City's back in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in 4 years.
That they are. I mean, do y'all have anything else? I thought of something and then immediately forgot it again.
Did you guys see Brandon Ayuk's comments about the Eagles?
No.
Well, he thinks that the Chiefs are about to smoke them, but I'm not sure if that's just sour grapes because
sounds like it is.
San Francisco just got bounced by Philly. But he was a believer that the Eagles' defense is overrated. I'm not sure I would make that bet, but I guess he felt that San Francisco didn't really get a chance to, see how their game plan panned out because Brock Purdy got injured. But my feeling was Brock Purdy got injured because y'all couldn't protect him, right? Like he got hurt because the pass rush got home. He got hurt and the backup got hurt the same damn way. Right, like the pass rush bulldozed whoever. Who's the guy? Hassan Reddick, just right through everybody, just crushing fools. I'm like, yeah. If the reason why you lost the game is because 2 of your quarterbacks got knocked out because you couldn't keep them upright, you probably weren't going to win the game.
Yeah. All right, so I guess that's all we got on that for now. Some coaching news. Sean Payton has come out of retirement, and he's going to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos. So this seems like sort of, I think if I were him, I would have wanted the Chargers job, but the Chargers job wasn't available for some reason. So it seemed like he kind of just got the next best thing and went to Denver.
Would you call this the next best thing, though? Right? Like,
I mean, there's a reason the job was open. The team was bad.
Yeah, but there were 5 job openings. Honestly, I think I might rather have the Arizona job.
You'd rather have the Arizona job
versus Denver?
Yeah, I would rather have the Arizona job than Denver.
I mean, Russell Wilson's cooked, right? Like we've established that.
Kyler Murray has a torn ACL.
Okay, but he'll be back at some point next year.
I mean,
Russell
don't
Wilson
know that.
ain't coming back at all. He's done, and he's going to be paid for the next few years.
The Cardinals have no roster.
Apparently, Sean Payton has announced that Russell Wilson's entourage will not be allowed in the Denver Broncos facility next year. Like his personal trainers and like people like that.
I mean, I don't know. Russell Wilson's a hard guy to really nail down in terms of how he would react to a situation like that because the first version that we had of him was he's Mr. Team Player, go Hawks, all that good stuff. Then we find out he's a little bit of a diva, with needing his own office, which I thought was bizarre. Right? Like, you're the quarterback, dude. You're a player. You're not a coach. Like, what are you talking about? You need your own office. So how does it feel when an actual head coach with bona fides, probably the best coach that Russell Wilson's ever played for, including Pete Carroll, is going to come in there and he's going to do it his way and he's going to have expectations of the quarterback to fall in line? Can Russ handle that? I I assume he doesn't really have much of a choice, but how does that play out? I'm curious to see it, but I also am disappointed that Sean Payton went to the Broncos. It feels like casting pearls before swine here. It's like, it's not. I feel like he would have been better off if that was the best gig he could get. Maybe just wait another year, stay on TV, wait for them to finally
the
fire
Chargers
Staley.
job to come open next year.
I would say that, maybe he just has a thing for, short quarterbacks, but Kyler Murray also fits that bill.
I still think Denver's a better job. I do agree, though, Evan. It's not a good one. Like, it's not. Have they even hired anybody?
Denver?
Arizona.
No, I think they're doing a second interview with some offensive coordinator. I forget which team.
I did see Brian Flores got the defensive coordinator job, I think, in Minnesota. So
Is it in Minnesota?
Yeah,
I saw that too. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure.
I saw he got something,
a job,
but I couldn't remember where.
But yeah, that's a doozy. Sean Payton probably should have come back to the Saints, man. Fire Dennis Allen.
That would have been a good fit as well. Maybe Sean Payton would have started Jameis once he was healthy.
Yeah, there's a lot I could say about Dennis Allen that I've already said before, and I don't feel like saying again.
Well, all right then. Also in the coaching news, the Texans hire D'Amico Ryans as their newest head coach. So congratulations to D'Amico Ryans. I believe he got a 6-year deal, fully guaranteed. So if he's not the third black guy in a row to be fired after 1 year, he's still getting that money.
It's true, though.
It is, yeah.
Come on.
I'm sure that was part of the, I'm sure that had to come with a negotiation. You guys need to give me a long-term deal. I'm not about to be another guy that you
can.
And not make any money off of it.
No, it's ridiculous. I was apprehensive when I saw that D'Amico Ryans took that job just because of the history and just how awful the Texans organization is. I'm like, dude, you deserve so much better than this, because he was fantastic this year. Was an obvious head coaching candidate pretty much from the first month of the season. Everybody's like, this guy's legit. And, on NFL Live, they couldn't stop talking about his schemes and stuff like that. And he was great. Obviously, he had great personnel with San Francisco. It's not like he coached a bunch of bums, but certainly was worthy of the opportunity. And you just hope, and maybe you're hoping against hope here, that the Texans organization will be appropriately grateful and provide him the necessary opportunity to maybe actually turn that franchise around. But I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, I have my doubts.
Yeah.
He went to Alabama.
Watt is not walking through that door, so they're going to need to figure something out with that defense, and they need to figure out something with that offense
and special teams.
Does Brandon Cooks even want to still be there?
Brandon Cooks hasn't wanted to be there since he got there. He got traded to everybody, and then somehow he gets stuck there. It's like, that dude's
poor guy.
Because he's good.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
I think he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's just stuck with the Texans. They couldn't even figure out which quarterback to play, and neither one of them were good. So
neither one was good. I think one was very clearly better, and that was Davis Mills.
Yeah, but they got cute and
who was the other quarterback they had? I don't even remember.
I don't remember who the
other
guy was anymore.
He would go run out.
Normal
He would try to run gadget
guy.
plays out there, and they never worked. And I'm just like, maybe just leave the better quarterback out there the whole time, and maybe you might actually pull off this win. But they didn't until the end of the season when it cost them the number 1 pick. So.
And it was glorious.
Shout out to Lovey for that.
Yes,
That's
big shout out to
ultimate and petty. These goofballs, not only are they going to have the audacity to fire you after 1 year and leaving you with this team, they're going to tell you before the end of the game when you can actually still put your thumb on the scale and mess this up for him.
He gave the number 1 pick to his old team, the team that he took to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. The team that also fired him unjustly.
Oh, yeah.
So
the Bucs fired him, I think, unjustly too, because they fired him to hire Dirk Cotter because they didn't want Cotter to leave because he had developed a rapport with Jameis.
The Bucs fired Tony Dungy unjustly all those years ago. The Bucs have done that a few times.
Well, there's a reason why the Bucs have the most losses ever, right? They suck. I don't think it's the most ever, but it's like they have the worst.
They have the lowest win percentage.
I don't remember.
They lost 27. I think even the Cowboys won 1 game each of their first 2 seasons, and they were both against Washington.
Yeah.
I think they went like What did they go? Like, they went like 2-1-1 in their first 2 seasons against Washington and 0 against everybody else.
That sounds right. That's beautiful. Oh my God.
I mean, I don't know. But were black people allowed to play for Washington in those games?
I don't think in those games, no.
Probably not.
Oh, there's the problem right there.
Yeah, it explains a little bit why you keep losing, but
D'Amico Ryan's back to him because
to the
he's relevant.
To the Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, he played for the Texans from 2006 to 2011. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler and NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Unanimous All-American at Alabama, first team All-SEC. So he's certainly got
A good resume.
the resume,
Very good resume.
as a player. And he had a meteoric rise through the 49ers defensive hierarchy, I guess.
Yeah. He started there in 2017. So
2017 as defensive quality
control.
control coach.
I mean, I remember him being a player, so he's obviously not been in coaching too long. It's like when Vrabel got the job for Tennessee. It was like he was on the Texans staff for a hot minute, and then suddenly he's a head coach.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was D'Amico Ryans and remember Brian Cushing, the two two Texans linebackers they had.
Yeah, Cushing was always injured or doing
He
steroids.
was, because he was...
Or the time
he was
he
a lot
hit
like
himself in the head
He
with
was
his
like Will
own
Fuller
helmet.
the fifth. It's like either he's hurt or he's out because he did roids. He's never actually on the field. Cushing was really good,
He was.
but
Yeah, but I mean, the real good linebacker from that team was D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah. So I hope he does well. I hope he's able to turn that franchise around. I don't have a lot of hope for it, but...
And if not, he's getting paid anyway.
I don't have a lot of
The
confidence
check's still
that's going to happen,
cash.
but it has nothing to do with him. It's just going to be a shame if it doesn't happen, if that, stunts his NFL coaching career in some way, because I think he could be a really good coach. But we've seen other people who have the potential to be a really good coach or already have been really good coaches end up in a bad situation and just being absolutely awful.
yeah, it takes a little while for that second opportunity to come around after you've had a bad first run.
It's also just tough because, how often do opportunities come up for people to take out, to move into a head coaching job where they actually have a chance of early success? Usually head coaching jobs open with the bad teams.
Yeah, because the coach got fired. Right? Like, how often do you see you rarely see a ready-made contender without a coach.
Yeah, the only time you would ever see that is if a guy retires. And we haven't really seen much of that in the past decade.
Well, we saw one guy retire, and they replaced him with an idiot. So, wasn't going to say more about Dennis Allen, but since you brought it up, Corey.
I was going to say when Bill Cowher retired, but Sean Payton,
Bill Cowher
good
was a
enough.
example, though.
Yeah, but still, that was a while ago.
Yeah, that's probably the most recent one where it's like you went
That was the
from
only
a
one
good
I could
coach
think
with
of.
a good team to another good coach.
And we're about to go into year 17 of Tomlin's career.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think his first year was 2007, so
Yeah,
sounds
it
about
was.
right.
Yeah, so something like that. He's been around for a minute now.
He's a pretty good coach.
Very good coach. Never had a losing season.
Yeah.
Still.
Yes.
I don't know how they pulled that one out this year, but they did.
Well,
Hey,
the
man.
Ravens blew it. There's the first way they pulled it out.
That's true.
So, that happened.
Yeah, it did
best
happen.
and
The
worst
The
of
Ravens got
conference-
gifted 4 points in that game, and they still lost. So
Yes, the
Pretty
Ravens
bad.
blew it. Like I knew they would. Because that's what they did.
Did say that.
Yeah, had that one. Best and worst from conference championships per Football Insider's quick reads. The best quarterback was Patrick Mahomes. The worst was Joe Burrow. Again, there was only 4 teams in action, so sort of limited choices. The best running back by total and rushing only was Miles Sanders. The worst by total was Jerick McKinnon, and the worst by only rushing was Joe Mixon. And then the best pass catcher was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and the worst was Sky Moore.
Sky Moore sucks, man. That guy blows. What can you even say about him? He's terrible. But shout out to MVS because that one catch was just preposterous.
That was really impressive.
And that was a huge play too. So he's
a good player. He just is inconsistent. He doesn't show up every single Sunday.
Well, he's gonna have to show up this Sunday because they ain't got nobody else. Everybody else is hurt.
Yep.
He didn't have to show up yesterday, so
That's true. Got a free week off.
Yeah. I guess before we get into y'all's prop bets, let's clear out all the other stuff. Maryland Terrapins men's basketball beat Indiana number 21 at home. Corey's sitting up like I forgot something. So what happened in college basketball? Because I wasn't watching.
Oh, okay. Well, since apparently Evan wasn't watching, I'll have to talk about this. Well, you were at one of the Maryland games.
Here, didn't
that
you?
was probably before our last podcast. Anyway.
Maybe.
So Maryland played Indiana this Wednesday? I don't remember what day. Tuesday, yeah. And your boy was there. It was a flash mob game. Corey and I were at the original flash mob. At least you were there, right, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. You were there.
Yeah, I was at that.
Yeah. So we're kind of lifers there as far as that goes. But yeah, Terps beat number 21 Indiana at home. I think they're on a 3 or 4 game winning streak now. They beat the crap out of Minnesota a couple of nights ago. But yeah, it was an awesome game, and Indiana went on to beat number 1 Purdue at Assembly Hall a couple nights later, so that kind of solidifies the significance of the Maryland win. The season's kind of back on track at this point. Like we talked about early in the season, they looked great. They got up to number 13 in the country, and then they had a really rough December, and we were like, "Oh, this team's not even gonna make the tournament." And now they're
want
kind
the coach fired already?
Nobody wanted the coach fired. You're being a hater because you like to stick up for Turgeon for reasons unknown.
All he did was go to the tournament every year. So
no, only half the years, which is that's not good enough. 50% is a failing grade. You went to school, you know how that works.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, really the big reason the Terps have turned it around is, and of course I'm going to do this because DeMatha pride. Jameer Young has emerged as the team's decisive best player and primary ball handler, and he's been absolutely outstanding. Has a really good shot to maybe make first team all conference. Just a really good pickup in the transfer portal, and apparently has a chance to come back next year if he wants to because he gets his COVID year, which is a thing. So we wouldn't complain if he came back because the team's going to be pretty good next year, at least talent-wise, and if he can add to it, that's just going to make them even better. So shout out to Jameer Young and shout out to the Terps. I think that's all I got.
Shout out to the Lady Terps as well. They've been playing really well.
They beat somebody.
They beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
Crushed Ohio State, in fact.
I remember I saw the score and I was like, ooh, pretty good.
Yeah, beat them 90-54.
That's a paddling.
It is. I don't think they've lost to any team that is ranked lower than them this season.
A lot of them are, so
right.
Their
most recent loss was against Iowa, but Iowa was ranked in the top 5, and that was only a 6-point loss. So.
Well, that's because Caitlin Clark is just incredible. So
So the Lady Terps are playing very good basketball. Really happy for them, and it's gonna be interesting as we get into tournament time. We're a little more than a month away now. The first Duke Carolina game of the season was this past weekend, so Rashawn and I watched that. It was in Cameron Indoor Stadium, and Shire is now officially better than Coach K.
Right, because he won his
100% against North Carolina in his career.
Coach K lost the last 2 against North Carolina, including in the Final Four. So, sucks to be
kind of impressed that they even made it to the Final Four last year, quite honestly. That was not a great Duke team. It was a decent team.
It was an even worse North Carolina team.
Yeah, the North Carolina team was a bigger
that was
surprise.
really impressive that they made it to the Final
fact
Four.
that team not only got there, but then bounced Duke, and they should have probably beaten Kansas. They were up pretty big, and Kansas roared back. So
but it was a fun game that we watched this past weekend. They got one more coming up next month, and then the ACC tournament after that.
Then the big show.
And the big show.
We'll be doing our brackets. Yeah,
we will definitely have a bracket challenge this year, so stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the big dance, if you will.
Yeah.
We'll
do men's and women's tournaments again like we did last year. That was fun.
Oh. Okay.
I'm going to do it.
I don't think Georgia Tech's going to make the women's tournament. So
are they going to make the men's tournament?
No.
Hey, you guys could still win the ACC tournament. You never know.
That's true. That's how we got in the tournament in 2021.
No, but you guys were actually good enough to get in, though. Like, you were a 9 seed.
Okay. Well, we sort of cemented our position by winning the ACC.
Yes, you did.
All right, on to the NBA and their assorted foolishness. The head fool, Kyrie Irving, has been traded to the Dallas Mavericks for some reason. Why is this guy still in the league? Someone called Dinwiddie and DFS are going back to the Nets in exchange.
Well, we've heard of Spencer Dinwiddie because Eric has talked about him on the show.
I've probably talked about Dorian Finney-Smith, too, but I've never written...
Who?
Dorian Finney-Smith.
I don't recognize that name at all.
Daily
Might as well be
Fantasy
Dorian
Sports,
Gray.
I'm just kidding. Dorian Finney-Smith actually went to Virginia Tech. I remember him. He played for them in the last days of Maryland in the ACC. But he's been
in the NBA for a minute.
He's been there for a while, yeah.
And I don't know who he is, so
that obviously tells you that he's not good. I'm just kidding. He actually is pretty good, but
really,
he's okay. He's a pretty good player. He was on the Mavericks last year, and they played the Warriors in the conference finals. Clearly, he didn't make an impact.
No, he did not make an impression on me.
But nobody did because the Warriors won in 5 games. It was a pretty uncompetitive series. Anyway, so I guess to start from the beginning here, Kyrie Irving requested a trade last Thursday or Friday, one of those days, late last week. Presumably because the Nets were not going to give him the max contract offer that he sought, which, of course they weren't because he's Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. So he decided that he was going to say, hey, trade me out of here or I'm going to leave in the offseason. At which point, everybody went nuts and said, oh my God, who's going to get Kyrie Irving? And my opinion was, okay, so he's going to leave in the offseason. So what? Just keep him. Play the rest of the season out. Like, the Nets are pretty good. They actually have a chance to maybe win the East with him and KD and see what happens. And then if you ultimately decide to give him a contract extension, I would consider that ill-advised. But if you decide to go that route, there you go. If you don't, you had a nice run. Let's move on. Instead, they trade him.
So many championships with Kyrie.
Yeah, like just I don't understand really. The trade, from my perspective, doesn't really add up. Because to me, now you've got to trade Kevin Durant too, because you can't win a championship with KD and a bunch of role players. Like, that's not a good enough roster. You're not beating Boston with that team. You're not beating Milwaukee. You're probably not beating Philly either. And hell, you might even not be able to get out of the first round if you play Cleveland in a 4-5 matchup. Like, your championship window is officially slammed shut. It's no longer available. At which point, what's the point of having KD here, right? Like, I'm not saying you got to trade him right now. He's under contract for 3 more years after this, but there's no path for the Nets to become a championship contender. They have no cap space because they're paying Ben Simmons all that money, and nobody's going to take him because he's Ben Simmons. And there's no real wiggle room for them. This is the best it's going to get as far as the present day construction of their roster is. So you got to move on from KD, right? Like, that's the only way to spark a rebuild. Like, it's over. This entire experiment, predictably by some, was a massive failure. It's time to move on. It's time to turn the page and try to salvage something out of this hot mess that you've turned your franchise into and start over. But the fact that they've made this move suggests that that's probably on the horizon. I imagine that Brooklyn's going to go into the playoffs and maybe they squeak out a win over Cleveland, then they'll play Boston in the first round, and they're going to get smoked again. And that's when it's going to be abundantly clear to everybody involved it's time to move off of KD. And maybe they even make a decision. Like, the betting odds have it that KD's more likely than not to be moved before the deadline, which is on the 9th. That's this Thursday. I think that would be a little crazy. It's only 3 days away. Maybe you have plenty of time. You don't need to do this now. But the fact that the people that know things like this have already said he's probably going to leave, that would suggest that there's rumblings that they're working to get him traded too. So we'll keep our ear to the ground on that. But I guess from the Mavericks' perspective, this is hilariously desperate, right? Like, this doesn't make your team that much better, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, well, they don't need to play defense. They'll just outscore everybody. I'm like, well, when has a team ever won that way? Like, that's never happened in the history of the NBA. Everybody thinks, oh, you could just outscore them. I'm like, no, you can't. You have to be able to stop people occasionally.
We saw the Warriors try that like a decade ago when they were scoring 115 points a game or something ridiculous like that, and they still barely had a winning record, if they even did have a winning record. Like they were giving up 120 a game.
Yeah, like the We Believe Baron Davis type of Warriors, where it's like, we just fast-paced and we run up and down the floor and score 130, and the opponent scores 135, and we go 40 and 42. That's usually how it ends up going.
Like, that was a team that was maybe even solely responsible for the belief that there's no defense played in the NBA.
Especially when they played the Denver Nuggets, because they would just run up and down the floor against each other.
Let's see, 200 points for each team in regulation.
Those games are super fun to watch, though. Exciting.
It was like all-star game all the time.
Oh, yeah. It was great. But anyway, So Kyrie makes their offense better, but the thing is, the Mavericks let Jalen Brunson leave in the offseason. They let him go to New York. They could have had him for 4 years, $55 million, which is peanuts for a guy of his caliber. Jalen Brunson might end up being an all-star this year, right? Like, he barely missed it this year, but there's going to be injuries.
We're, 2 weeks away from the all-star break?
All-star break, it's two. The all-star game would be not this weekend, but next weekend. So, basically 2 weeks. So you had an opportunity to retain him, Jalen Brunson. You didn't. He goes to New York, and he's played very well for the Knicks. And then in a desperate move to sort of recoup some of that lost offense, you trade for Kyrie Irving, but you give up 2 of your rotation pieces, including your best perimeter defender in Dorian Finney-Smith. Kyrie Irving makes this team better than it was 2 days ago. But he doesn't make them better than they were last year, considering that he's not that big of an upgrade over Jalen Brunson, right? Like, he's clearly better than Brunson, but they had to give up 2 key players to replace him. And that means they're probably just the same team they were last year, and the same team they were last year couldn't hang with Golden State.
Will Kyrie and Luka Doncic be able to play together? Like, will they be able to coexist?
Well, Kyrie doesn't coexist with anybody, just himself.
I'm just talking like on the court specifically.
He doesn't coexist with anybody.
Kyrie Irving has had maybe 2 occasions where he's actually elevated a team. That was in 2016 with the Cavs, when obviously he hit the big shot to seal the comeback win and give Cleveland their first championship. And then in 2018 with the Celtics, he was fantastic. But then he got hurt. And that's something that should be notable about Kyrie. I'll get to your question in a second, Corey. Kyrie hasn't made it through but maybe 2 postseasons. Like, he got hurt in the 2015 playoffs. He got hurt in the finals against Golden State, and they lost that series. Then in 2018 with Boston, his first year there, he got hurt, and 19-year-old Jason Tatum was trying to beat LeBron James in a conference final. It wasn't going to happen. And then 2020 in the bubble year, the Nets made the playoffs as a bubble team, but Kyrie was out with a shoulder injury. 2021, he twisted his ankle against the Bucks, which led to the Bucks coming back in that series and ultimately winning the championship. Like, he doesn't stay healthy, and that's only half the problem. The other half is he's a moron, and he does stupid stuff that alienates his franchise, gets him kicked off the team, or he doesn't show up to work, or he bails, or he checks out, whatever.
Perfect fit for Texas.
Somebody actually tweeted it's a bad idea to send Kyrie to Dallas because right where JFK got shot, because he'll have something to chew on down there.
Do some research.
Yeah,
angles don't make sense.
Yeah, look into the conspiracy there. I'm like, maybe. But as for strictly a basketball sense, if we completely eliminate Kyrie Irving's let's call it mercurial personality,
stupidity.
I've already called him a moron, so I'll let you.
Well,
have
he's
that
a
one.
bigger moron.
Okay, bigger and dumber. Okay, we're cool with that.
Very much so.
I think that Luka's going to have an adjustment to make because Luka has an obsessive need to control the ball, and he doesn't have.
They're both ball dominant.
Yeah, like Kyrie can play off the ball because he can spot up and shoot. He's shown a willingness to move without the basketball a little bit. He's a better off-ball player than Luka Doncic is, but you don't trade for Kyrie Irving to exclusively play off the ball. He's going to have possessions where he's controlling the offense and he's running the show.
He's a point guard.
Yeah, which means Luka's going to have to find something to do on those possessions and preferably not stand 30 feet from the basket with his hands on his hips, right? Like there's got to be some level of effort, some value provided from him if the offense is going to hum as well as it needs to for them to win a championship, because their defense sucks, and their defense sucked with Dorian Finney-Smith, with Spencer Dinwiddie, and they replaced Dinwiddie at the point guard position / shooting guard, whatever he plays. They replaced him with a worse defender in Kyrie Irving, and they didn't replace Dorian Finney-Smith, who, as I mentioned earlier, was their best perimeter defender. So this team doesn't, like, the West is wide open. Nobody really believes the Nuggets are going to run away with it. I don't really see why, because the Nuggets are clearly the best team at this point. But I guess Cuban and the Mavericks feel like they have a shot at a wide open conference to maybe make a finals run, and they're not committed to Kyrie after this. Like they can just let him walk if they really want to, but it feels like a move they just made because they're worried Luka's going to say, "Hey, you never got me any help, so in a couple seasons he's going to bounce."
Well, I mean, they got him Kristaps Porzingis. You know,
and see, that's another thing, though. I feel like everybody's going to blame Kyrie when this thing inevitably blows up. Mm-hmm. Luka Doncic doesn't have the best track record as being a guy that can work with high-level players. Like, Kristaps Porzingis isn't, like, super special or anything like that. But it was a disaster when he was in Dallas. Like, it didn't work at all. And a big part of it was because he expected, or he being Luka, expected Kristaps Porzingis to just go stand in the corner and shoot threes. And he's a 7'3" center. Like, you gotta let him do some work. You gotta let him cook a little bit, and he didn't do it. It was Luka's show. So he's gonna have to find a way to get Kyrie integrated in the offense. And
I'm reminded of the GIF of Stephen Colbert with the 3D glasses saying this is gonna be a disaster while he's eating popcorn.
Yes, with a smile on his face. Yes.
This is gonna be a disaster.
Yes, I'm here for the car wreck.
Yeah. Corey, I thought you were going to say that Kyrie's as reliable as the Texas power grid. That's what I thought you were going with. Good thing he's in Texas. Sticking with basketball, I mean, have you talked about LeBron yet? Sad Bron? What? I don't even know.
Well, Bron's sad because they didn't get Kyrie.
Oh, he's sad about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
LeBron wanted Kyrie.
Yes.
Why?
Because he would make them better than what they have with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. A big three of Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs that come with that.
Davis.
Yes, if Anthony Davis is healthy, if LeBron
and
is
LeBron
healthy,
who's 38.
Yes, if Kyrie Irving is healthy and of sound enough mind to play basketball today. If all that happens, the Lakers would probably be among the favorites to win the West. But, you know, for
Mercury's
one thing,
in retrograde.
Yeah, like, for one thing, that's far from a guarantee that anything like that would happen. For another thing, the Lakers didn't have the assets to actually outbid the Mavericks for the services of Kyrie Irving. Like, a couple of first-round picks? Okay. I don't think the Nets are going to get all worked up over a bunch of seventh graders, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. And, oh, by the way, you got to take Russell Westbrook. Yeah, if there was any hope of maybe trying to salvage this Kevin Durant thing and build a team around him, there's no way in hell he's going to stay engaged and want to keep involved with this team if you bring him back Russell Westbrook. That's not going to happen. Right. He left Russell Westbrook when Russ was in his prime. That was like 6 years ago. Russ has gotten so much worse in all the worst ways. He hasn't improved the style of play. He's just a lot worse at it. But he still does it. He would drive KD up the wall, and they wouldn't win anything, and Kevin Durant would be like, get me up out of here. So that was not that was a non-starter. LeBron tweeted something like saying, like, maybe it's me. Like, I guess like maybe I'm the problem why we can't get anything done here. Kind of being self-defeating, I guess, but something else. But LeBron this week is probably going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record. So shout out to him. He's going to do it in the shadow of the Super Bowl, so nobody's going to pay attention. So I wanted to give him his love now, because next week we're going to be talking about everything but that.
Will Kareem be there?
I would like to think he'd be there. He should be.
Where is there?
Seems like people expect it to happen against Golden State next Saturday.
I thought it was supposed to happen on Thursday.
Oh, is it?
I feel like LeBron would have to take a night off. Well, maybe
They're
Draymond
playing the
wants that.
Thunder on Thursday in
Golden
LA.
State game.
Or
a lot less
no,
interesting.
tomorrow.
Well, Draymond said that he would skip a day of work. Basically, he would blow off a game to go to the Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena or whatever it's called now to go watch LeBron break Kareem's record. And I'm like, well, if he does it against you, you could just let him go to the basket and just expedite this a little bit.
There you go.
But yeah, I thought that he has. I think the Lakers have a game tomorrow. But
Yeah, they host the Thunder tomorrow. They host the Bucks on Thursday, and then they go at Golden State Saturday night.
But I probably want to do it at home.
And I think LeBron, I think he only needs like 40 some odd points, so
Yeah.
he could, in theory, get it tomorrow if he goes off. But he's most likely to get it on Thursday.
Yeah. All right.
Against the Bucks. Didn't Kareem play for the Bucks too?
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
It's also going to be awkward as he's scoring the record-breaking points as the Lakers are down 25 to Giannis.
Yes, as they're getting both raced.
It's going to be like Peyton Manning when he set the all-time yardage record in the worst game of his life, the game he got benched for Brock Osweiler. It was really sad. He was like 5 of 20. He threw 4 picks, but he hit one guy for a dump-off, and that was enough yards because he only needed like 10.
I think that was the game where he scored like -7 points for Brandon in our fantasy league.
That was a shame.
It was.
It was hard to watch.
Alrighty. Steph Curry injured again. Mm-hmm. What happened to him now?
Well, he tore some ligaments that we've never heard of, and that apparently Steve Kerr has never heard of.
I'm not going to try to pronounce them because I don't know how.
I just want to know, does the fact that nobody, including their head coach, the fact that none of us have heard of these ligaments, is that a really bad thing, or is that a really good thing? That like it's
how important could they be?
Maybe he avoided injury to like the important ligaments because the ones that are important are the ones that we have heard of.
Like if I haven't heard of it, how important could it be? Yeah, because I'm Mr. Biologist here.
It could be either one. Yeah. I have no way of making even an educated guess on that.
Well, I was watching this game and I saw the injury live. I think you were watching it.
Yeah,
too.
I was watching it too. I thought they bumped knees, and maybe at first I thought he had like sprained an ankle. Like maybe after they bumped knees, he had like kind of turned his ankle awkwardly or something. I was like, oh crap! Like there's his ankle. It's always his ankle.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't.
Yeah, it was weird because watching it happen, I was like, okay, it looked like some knee-on-knee collision. Probably was a Charlie horse or something like that. But he had also bumped knees/lower leg the previous game when they played Minnesota or Denver. I don't remember. But I figured it was just a re-aggravation of that contusion. But I guess like the ligaments that kind of hold your two lower leg bones together, I imagine those are pretty important because, you know, you want
the
to be
ones
able
that
to
hold your
stand.
bones together.
Yeah,
Those?
you know, kind of matters. I guess that's where the contact happened, and it created some very small tears in whatever ligaments those are that hold that knee together. So, or not the knee, the lower leg. So I guess that means he's hurt. Like it says, from what I read, it's a 3 to 4 week injury. They got the All-Star break coming up, so that
which isn't really that bad because when you hear tear, you're thinking it's going to take a while for it to repair itself.
Like
yeah,
years.
but it sounds like these are small ligaments with, you know, that have small tears. So we'll see how that goes for them. But Golden State's running out of time, right? Like they can't afford too many lulls where they just decide to lose a bunch of games. And we know how they usually function when Steph's not out there. They usually lose all the time. But I assume they're scheduled. It looks pretty manageable for the next couple of weeks for them. But again, anything can happen when Steph's not out there. I think they play the Wizards next Monday in San Francisco. The Wizards suck, and they always gonna, but they could definitely beat Golden State without Steph.
So Rashonda actually has a question regarding the Warriors, which is, what, if anything, should the Warriors do as we approach the trade deadline at the end of this week? Is there anything that they can do to help right the ship through that avenue?
There's stuff they can do, there's stuff I don't think they will do. They've got a bunch of young talent that isn't getting any playing time because they have to win games, and those guys, they can't afford those guys to make their rookie mistakes or whatever. So those guys could be moved. Guys like James Wiseman, who we've talked about a lot on this podcast for being pretty bad. But again, the thing is, Wiseman being bad only really stands out because he's playing on a good team that has expectations, right? Like normally a number 2 pick in the draft goes to some crappy team where he's going to get 30 to 35 minutes a night, can make all the dumb mistakes that he's going to make, and he can put up points and score 20 and grab 10 rebounds and be terrible on defense and not know how to set a screen. And you just work through all that crap because he's a rookie, he's a young player, he'll learn from the mistakes. The Warriors can't afford to have him learning on the job here. They're trying to win a championship. And so that makes him kind of unplayable. But at this point, since you haven't played him, he hasn't gotten any better. So you're kind of stuck in, a tangled web here of your own making. They probably should move him, but it seems like ownership doesn't want to do that. It seems like they are more content to let their older core of players like Draymond, like Klay Thompson, like Steph, they're willing to let that be the past, I guess, in order to maintain these younger players in their franchise. And Steve Kerr doesn't seem to be all that interested in developing younger players, understandably so. He's a championship coach. He's trying to win more. But Joe Lacob and their ownership group seem to be intent on just having these guys be around. Draymond Green probably ain't coming back next year for them, which I think is absolutely insane. But that's what they're deciding to do. And I don't think they're going to move anybody. They could go get somebody that could shore up their big man situation so that Draymond and Kevon Looney aren't playing all the minutes and getting gassed. They could go find somebody to play on the wings to make up for the fact that Klay Thompson doesn't play back-to-backs anymore given his injury history. They could do a lot of things. They're not gonna, which means they're going to stay mediocre. They're going to go into the playoffs maybe if they actually get there. And if they're healthy and if they have enough rest with this Western Conference, they could still make some noise.
So I kind of had an idea for them, and I'd like to run this by you and just get your thoughts on it. So especially with you bringing up the Wizards about to play them in a week, I was thinking there's a certain person who is about 11 days away from his 60th birthday, and maybe another comeback for Michael Jordan, and maybe he could show who the best Jordan is in the NBA right now and be better than Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole wouldn't be the person that Michael Jordan would have to be outplayed. It would be Jordan Goodwin on the Wizards, because Jordan Poole is hot trash. He is horrifyingly bad.
But I wasn't saying for him to come back for the Wizards. I'm saying for him to come back again for the Warriors. Make another comeback with a different team. And maybe play against the team that he made his first comeback with.
Oh, my God.
The second comeback.
Second comeback.
Second comeback, dude. He made his first one with the Bulls. I mean, I get you're doing a bit here, so I'm gonna humor you. Michael Jordan would find out real quick that he's 60. He shouldn't be on the court with professional basketball players anymore.
Should Jordan Poole be on the court with professional basketball players anymore?
That's a different question. I don't know. He sucks. He's so bad.
I thought it was a pool party and whatever.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, last year and even the year before. I remember year one, he was considered the worst player in all of basketball. That was in 2020 when Steph and Klay were both injured and Draymond was just, I don't care. So Poole was getting a lot of minutes and he was just horrifyingly bad, just like he is this year. And then he went to the G League the next year and apparently worked some stuff out, came back up with the Warriors in the latter part of the 2021 season and was actually pretty good. And then last year he looked very good at times, including in the playoffs.
Well, until the finals where he wasn't as good, I felt like.
Well, no, and he had to have his minutes limited because he was a poor defender.
Yeah.
Right, like you could get away with playing him against somebody like the Grizzlies because the Grizzlies have, John Morant for him to pick on, so even if
you gotta get Gary Payton II out there.
Yeah, and Jordan
they
Poole's,
got rid of him.
Jordan Poole's going to get cooked. So
Not that they had a choice, but still.
They could have paid him. They could have given Gary Payton his money.
Did they have the space and everything?
Yeah,
Oh.
they just didn't want to.
Well, that was stupid then.
Yeah, it was kind of dumb, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, Jordan Poole sucks. Like he's trash. I don't know if Draymond punched all the confidence out of him or something. I don't know what happened to him, but he can't make his shots as consistently. His ball handling's awful. He doesn't trust his mid-range jump shot like he used to. He carries the ball all the time. Like the NBA's had a crackdown on palming violations, and it's pretty much been exclusively Jordan Poole getting called for him.
Jeez.
Like he's, and the thing is, everybody's like, well, how come Ja doesn't get called for it? He carries all the time. It's like, yeah, Jordan Poole makes it so obvious. Like it stands out every time he carries the ball. Like, hey, somehow I had one dribble and I ended up moving like 15 feet. It's like, no.
Maybe he's gathering though.
You actually have to gather the ball. You can't continue to dribble after you gather it. That's called a double dribble. Like that's why it's against the rules to palm it. Yeah, he's bad. So, yeah, I don't think the Warriors are going to do anything. I think they're going to ride it with this team that's incomplete and probably not fit to make a championship run, and they're going to lose. And then Draymond's going to leave, and Klay's going to leave, and they're going to try to run old man Steph with these young guys, and it's going to be a disaster. So that's my prediction for Golden State going forward.
That's sad.
But they got their 4 rings, so I guess you can't complain too much.
And their franchise is worth, $7 billion or something?
It's worth a lot of money.
It's worth a lot more than it used to be, but, you piss off the guy that made it that valuable and, he somehow leaves, you find out real quick that
you can definitely still become less valuable.
Yes, that number will drop. Ask the Cleveland Cavaliers what happened when LeBron left.
Oh, yeah. They're irrelevant. No. All right.
To forget that they even were valuable like that, but they were.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on basketball or anything before we get into the prop bets?
Did you watch the Pro Bowl, Evan?
No. I was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon all
Always
weekend.
watch the Pro Bowl.
And Call of Duty. I was enjoying myself.
You shame us for not watching the Pro Bowl, and I watched it.
We finally finished up Stranger Things on Sunday.
Well, I knew you weren't going to watch the Pro Bowl.
I never watched it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually doing something important. We were finishing up Stranger Things, and
I was doing something important too.
We got a couple episodes of Cobra Kai in too, for season 5.
Got to get on the sticks, Eric. Where you been?
What you want me on the sticks playing video games again?
Yes.
Haven't you gotten enough out of me, Evan?
Enough out of you.
I'm gallivanting around the country, riding all these crazy roller coasters, and then it's like, oh, but you got to play Call of Duty too. I'm like,
today we found out it's an either or with Eric.
Oh, okay.
Do this podcast.
It's not a both and.
I got a lot going on, man. I got a lot going on.
Well, I enjoyed the Pro Bowl for what it was. It was entertaining. They started with a few events on Thursday, and the AFC had a 9-3 lead. The 3 points that the NFC scored came from their epic dodgeball win, where Saquon Barkley carried the load. And then Sunday was pretty fun too. They had 3 flag football games. The first 2 were each worth 6 points, and they had a few other contests. And then basically the way it worked was when they got to the third flag football game, which was the final event of the Pro Bowl games, whatever the team scores were from all of the events at that point, that's how they started that game and then went from there, which I kind of feel like they should have just, like, at the start of every flag football game had, like, what the score was and add whatever point totals both teams scored, rather than just making each of the first 2 games worth 6 and then the third game just worth whatever. But I was entertained. The players played pretty hard. Tyreek Hill took a really hard hit on a lateral that he caught at the goal line from Devontae Adams. The defender was not expecting that lateral and wound up just colliding with Tyreek Hill. Unfortunately, in one of the events, it wasn't even during flag football, it was during one of the other skills competitions, Myles Garrett broke his toe. Or dislocated his toe. Whatever it is, it's going to take a little while for that to heal.
He's got plenty of time.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time. But yeah, it was entertaining. They played hard, and the flag football was fun. I still feel like the officials did not actually know some of the rules of flag football because they were a bit inconsistent with some of the rulings. But
we played flag football once.
It was fun. We played flag football 3 times, and we did not do very well.
Yeah, we lost all the games.
Did we lose all of them? I thought we lost. I thought we won the 3rd.
All I know is
at that point we were already eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, we were toast.
I caught a touchdown pass. I also gave up a touchdown pass. You gave up a touchdown pass.
No, you gave up the touchdown pass. That was your fault. That was your fault. Asshole.
Corey has no hands. The Ravens are still looking for their offensive coordinator.
Tyler Huntley played pretty well.
Tyler Huntley being included in the Pro Bowl is just an abomination. Like, that's pathetic. Come on. He's a backup quarterback. He threw 2 touchdown passes. He wasn't even good.
Mm-hmm. Good for him, though. You know.
No.
Hopefully got a nice bonus or something.
No, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I agree it is ridiculous, but good for him, though.
Oh. You know Steve Bisciotti's going to tell Lamar, hey, we can just replace you with a Pro Bowl quarterback, so why do we need you?
Oh, my God.
Well, Tyler Huntley made $42,000 extra dollars.
Yeah.
He did make $84,000 extra dollars because that went to the NFC because Peyton Manning and Tom Brady now have something in common. They've both lost a bowl game to Eli Manning.
Okay. Oh, boy. So the Super Bowl is this coming Sunday. Eagles minus 1.5. What is happening?
Corey's rambling about Pete Davidson and Snoop Dogg or something.
Well, they were the honorary captains.
The Super Bowl was happening. Eagles minus 1.5. I've already picked the Eagles. Eric and Corey need more time to analyze what they're going to do.
I might bring back my old Madden prediction game this year.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's time for y'all to make some more predictions.
Hey, Evan, by the way, if you're going to get on us for picking the game not early enough, don't include in the notes that you bet on it early and got it at a worse price.
I mean, yeah, I was confident. I thought I was thinking that the Eagles would be bigger favorites now than they were then. But whatever. So anyway, y'all are doing all these prop bets.
So we're not going to do all of them. We have 20 prop bets in the show notes right now.
Quite a few since.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, how many are in here now?
I haven't.
It's like about 15.
Okay, so yeah, we're down to 15. I just figured that if we don't want to like narrow it down beyond this, we can just go back and forth, do 10 of them, and just pick which ones we like the best out of them.
All right.
Do y'all need me to keep track of who picked what?
I can keep track of that using the colors, the text colors, but we do need to figure out who gets the first pick.
Okay.
Evan, do you have something for us?
I do have something for you, and it's kind of ridiculous. So, get your phones out, prepared to text me. Be the millennials that you are, and have your phone at arm's reach at all times.
Okay. Are we texting through iMessage or through Messenger?
iMessage.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me 1 second, because when I search, it's doing everything but providing your contact. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So, right before we started recording, I opened up my Universal Orlando app. So at 7 o'clock Eastern time, I need you to tell me what the wait time was for a Velocicoaster.
I feel like Eric has a little bit of an advantage here because he's actually ridden it and probably has an idea of what a normal wait time would be.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, make your number divisible by 5 in minutes.
So what time was the supposed...
This was at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. Yes.
Tonight. 6:59 to be exact.
Oh.
We started recording at 7.
Okay.
And I couldn't think of anything else.
5. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or put whatever number you want. But, I don't know.
I sent something.
I sent something too.
Okay, so Corey said an hour 25. Eric said 55 minutes. The correct answer, 45 minutes.
Yes. Price is Right rules. We're both over. Do it again.
Okay.
No. No. All right, so I
you
did
guys,
have an advantage.
Yeah,
What
I knew that he was going to have an advantage.
That was a distinct advantage. Yeah, like those even when we were there, it was crowded. The wait times were like only 70 minutes max.
Whatever, it's fine. We got 15 prop bets, and we're gonna go back and forth. Each of us picking 5 of them to take. Any of the bets where the odds are the same, they don't have any like even odds. They're like minus 115 for both sides. We'll just call those even odds. Basically, we're putting up $5 per bet, but that number could be slightly higher or lower depending on if we're taking a prop where we're taking the favorite or the underdog. But overall, it should wind up being that each of us is on the line for roughly $50.
All right, so I have to pick which bet I want and which side I want,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And then the other one of you gets the other side?
Yes, and the other one automatically gets the other side of that bet and then gets to pick the next one.
Okay.
Okay, let's dive right in here and get this one off the board quickly. The national anthem over/under time is 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
And there is, I forget the name of the guy who's
Chris
singing.
Stapleton.
Yeah, Chris Stapleton. And supposedly there is not a video anywhere on the internet of him singing the national anthem.
Fair enough. So this is a little bit higher than the typical over/under. It's usually like 150. Demi Lovato's just like 155, I think, and she actually hit the under. I'm gonna take the under for this one. I don't know a damn thing about Chris Stapleton. I assume he's a country singer. Is that right?
He's a country singer.
Well, country singers can't actually sing, so they don't have a whole lot of time to actually meander and all that crap that they do. So, I think he'll just I think he'll make it quick. So that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have the chops for anything else.
Okay, Corey, what do you have?
All right, so let's see.
Did you want the national anthem one and the over or
I
under really bad?
The under on the national anthem as well. So that was a good choice by Eric. So I get the over, and I'll be hoping for a long national anthem, which is
the opposite of what you want. You want them to hurry up.
It's usually the opposite of what I want. So in that case, I am going to take the scoring drive less time than the national anthem. And I'm going to say I don't like that it's such a big favorite. Like minus 190 doesn't really give me a lot of money to make there, honestly. But I still feel like there's going to be a scoring drive that takes less time at the national anthem. There's going to be like a last-second drive at the end of one of the halves where it takes all of like 45 seconds or something like that, and there's no way the national anthem is going to be that short. So I am going to take the yes on a scoring drive at some point in the game taking less time than the national anthem. And that will give Eric the no. So yes is at minus 190, no is at plus 145. By the way, on the actual national anthem, it was minus 135 for the over and plus 105 for the under.
I received a text message from my mom to stop mocking country singers. So.
Oh, is she listening?
Yeah.
I'm surprised anybody's listening.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. I would have taken the under the no in that one. So I guess I'm happy with that. Okay, so I got to pick a second one of these now. Okay.
That's the exercise.
I'm going through it.
There's a lot of them to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot of bets here, Evan. You're not participating, then maybe relax.
I'm very relaxed.
Good. I want you to be relaxed. I'm gonna go with will Chris Jones record a sack? Yes or no? I'm going to take no. He's not going to record a sack. I think the Eagles' offensive line is legit, and I think the Eagles are going to run the ball a lot. So
Okay.
You're going to translate that into Spanish for us?
Why would I do that?
It's no.
Yeah.
It's still no.
Also, no.
So that's what you were going. You were making it funny. I thought you wanted me to translate Chris Jones recording a sack. I'm like, I don't know
No.
that much in Spanish. Chris Jones. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the no is at minus 105. Yes is at minus 125. So not a huge difference there. I am going to go with the first. Will the first third down attempt result in a successful conversion? And I am going to say yes. Yes is plus 110. No is minus 145. I think that the first third down attempt in the game will be a successful conversion.
I would have taken the yes as well. So
So would
Awesome.
I. Kind of like that.
okay, so I'm going to go with over under 2.5 players will attempt a pass during this game.
That's always a fun bet.
It's always a fun one.
Philly.
The odds are actually not as high as I thought they would be, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm taking the over. Why not? Let's be spicy. Somebody's going to run a trick play and somebody's going to throw the ball. Or somebody might get hurt. Who knows? Like, that qualifies too. So
Yeah, that does technically qualify too.
yeah,
That's true.
if the quarterback goes out and the backup comes in and throws a pass, then
So there you
that's
go.
yeah.
So the over is plus 135. That's what Eric took. Under is minus 165. I'll take the odds, but I like that one. That's a fun one. All right, so let's go to the total touchdowns over under 5.5. I am going to take the over. I mean, these are two high-powered offenses. I mean, the Eagles could score that many rushing touchdowns on their own, quite frankly, between Hurts and Miles Sanders. Not to mention they get a lot of vulture touchdown runs from guys like Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott. So I'm going to take the over on total touchdowns at over under 5.5. Over is minus 140. Under is plus 110.
All right. I will do the total combined quarterback sacks. Over under is 5.5. The odds are even for these relatively, so it's 115 each. So
We'll just call it even odds.
So we'll call that even odds. So straight up bet. 5.5 is. This is interesting because the Chiefs get a lot of sacks. The Eagles get the most sacks in the league. But the Chiefs' offensive line is really good, and the Eagles' offensive line is really good. So this is a, fire-on-fire matchup here. So I'm going to go with the over.
Okay. So even odds on that one, and Eric is taking the over. He's going to have one more prop bet pick left. I've got two left. That was our seventh. I am going to go with the first pass attempt by either quarterback. Will it be complete, minus 210, or incomplete, plus 175? And I'm going to go with the with numbers on that one. I'm going to take the one that stands to get me more money and go incomplete. I'm not sure if that's actually what's going to happen here, but if you have listened to this show in past years, you know that I do oftentimes hunt the big underdogs.
Yeah, you're playing the money. You're playing the number. You're not
Yeah.
playing the. I mean, I think that's. I would have taken the incomplete as well, but I don't mind having the complete because that's more than likely what's going to happen. All right, so I've got one more. Before I pick my last one, I just wanted to say, Corey, you had a couple of basketball, football, interrelated ones, and I deleted them out of principle because you misspelled Joel Embiid's name. You spelled it with an I in the beginning, which Embiid, it's Embiid.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
You did it twice, so I know it wasn't a typo.
IMBIID.
Yeah.
What?
You got the two I's in the middle, right, but you put an I instead of an E at the beginning. And
My
then
bad.
and you also misspelled Jason Tatum's name.
I did?
Jason is Jayson, not
Jesus.
Jason. So I was like, yeah,
Well,
I'm
he
getting rid of
misspelled his
these
own
just
name, to
purely
be
on,
honest, but-
it's making
That's
me
too bad
mad.
because those were kind of funny.
They were fun, and I was like, I could probably.
We've done some of those with Alex.
Yeah,
Ovechkin
with hockey,
in the past.
Caps when they played.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last one, I'm going to go with. Let's do. That's a little steep. Most points scored in a quarter. That's fun. Ah, boy.
It's at over under 20.5. The
20.5.
over is minus 165. The under is plus 135.
Well, I'm gonna take the odds on that one and go with the under because that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points. I was thinking about taking that one with my last one and taking the under, so that was a wise choice on your part.
Points
Okay.
per team or total?
That's total points in a quarter, like combined
So they'll need
between
3
the 2
touchdowns.
teams. So 3 touchdowns in one quarter would do it,
It's a lot.
assuming they make all the PATs, which is not
It's
a
also,
gimme these days.
especially with Harrison Butker, he likes to miss them when they don't matter.
All right.
This is Super Bowl, so they probably should matter.
So I have one more pick, and there's a few to choose from here. I'll go through the ones that we ended up not picking afterwards. But I am going to go with the one that stands to get me the most potential points or most potential money. Actually, I don't really like that one as much. So I'm going to go with first team to score. Will they win the game? No is at plus 150. Yes is at minus 180. You know what? Never mind. I'm going to do Jalen Hurts. I like that. I like that one better, and I like the odds. So, yes is plus 135. No is minus 165. I'm going to say yes. He will throw a first quarter touchdown pass.
Okay.
So the ones that we wound up not using were Travis Kelce over under 78.5 receiving yards, minus 120 for the over, minus 110 for the under, essentially even odds. First team to score wins the game. Yes, minus 180, and no, plus 150. Score in the first 6 minutes of the game. Yes, minus 105. No, minus 125. Score in final 2 minutes of the first half. Yes, minus 330, and no, plus 250. And then first team to score 10 points would be the Chiefs or the Eagles. That one was even odds. So those ones we did not choose. We'll put up something on the blog later this week with all of our picks and the money that we stand to gain from each one.
My only question is, where did these numbers come from? You use BetMGM like we've been doing?
I did not use BetMGM. I forget what the name of the site was, but all of these came from the same site because I wanted consistency, with the exception the national anthem. I couldn't find any official odds.
Why can't you sit still?
So I think I got that one from USA Today.
Oh, okay. Well, alrighty. I mean, unless anything else has happened since we started recording, that is it. So another short one. I do think it's worth underscoring, how critical of a role you play in this podcast, Corey. Just because there's no Corey, there's no podcast. You're sick and infirmed and stuff. I'm like, well, I guess we're taking this week off because Corey's not here. We're screwed. So glad you're back healthy, or healthier, I guess. So hopefully we can get a nice stretch of weeks in a row here.
Yeah. Seems like we've had a few missed weeks.
Yes.
I don't think we had ever had a missed week during the NFL season during our first 4 seasons of the podcast. So we've missed 2 or 3 now. So.
I think 2. Yeah. I mean, we'd gone years
this last
without
one
missing.
wasn't really the end of the world. At least we didn't miss a set of games. But
yeah.
But yeah, no, we can get on a little run now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess that'll do it. If you've made it this far into this podcast, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button on whatever podcatcher of choice you are using, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Podcasts. If we're not on your podcatcher of choice and you would like us to be on there, please reach out to us and let us know, either by email at thesportsballers@gmail.com or Twitter at SportsBallers18. Let's see. You can follow us individually on Twitter at Corey Puffett, at Quagmire67, and at Evan_Ash13. Do we have any comments on YouTube tonight?
A couple from Alex Mayo earlier on. He said something about or roided up. I'm assuming that was during the Brian Cushing discussion. And then he also gave a shout out to the Lady Terps for their drubbing of Ohio State.
Yes, and I see our titles section is empty. So does anybody have anything?
I have a couple of things recorded, cool,
okay.
So we'll find something.
Okay, I was going to ask if anybody has anything witty or snarky to add before we get out of here.
You could have done the whole outro with a with a little bit of a twang, make fun of country singers for Eric's mom again.
Let's leave my mother out of this.
I mean, to be honest, I lived in Georgia so long. I started picking up a little country music, but it's the country music that everybody hates.
Stadium country?
Huh?
The stadium country? Because that's the
maybe
only kind
stadium
of country music I like.
Or like country pop or whatever. People who
Florida,
like country
Georgia
music
line.
hate that because it's not real country music.
Yeah, it's not real country music. It's better.
Yeah, and then people who hate country music hate that because it's country music apparently. So
I'm sorry, Eric.
Put a little of that in there. Shout outs. I'll start out with shout out to Buzzed Bars Coaster Club for putting up with us this coming weekend. So hopefully we have a safe, fun time. Any shout outs from either of you?
Yeah, I've got a few. First, shout out and happy birthday to Adley Rutschman.
Oh yeah,
turned 25 today. So
25.
Yeah, he's old. He's old for a second-year player. Anyway, so happy birthday to Adley. Shout out to Laura Rutledge. Evan, you are familiar with her on NFL Live. The reason I'm giving her a shout-out is because she correctly predicted that Jalen Hurts would be an outstanding NFL quarterback when most people didn't. And she had a whole bunch of tape and a whole bunch of stats showing that Jalen Hurts was a pretty darn good passer in college that nobody really believed at the time. So, it's always nice to be right. So shout out to her. And last one, shout out to Bomani Jones on his show Game Theory this week. He interviewed Jake Paul, which was unexpected, and it went as hilariously bad as you would think it would, but it was delightfully entertaining. I highly recommend people check that out because it was a lot of fun. So that's all I got.
All right.
Anything, Corey?
I guess quick shout out to my video broadcast students who were able to hold down the fort for DeMatha's basketball game against Gonzaga last Tuesday because I was out sick and was not able to be there. 3 of our seniors who have taken video broadcast before, they had to FaceTime me and have me walk them through certain steps of the process of setting everything up. But
you didn't even get to the night off.
But they were able to get things running, and once everything was up, they were able to run it themselves, and for the most part, it went pretty smoothly. So, shout out to them for picking up that slack while I was out sick. I think that's all I've got.
All right. Well, I've got a couple more that have popped into my head. Shout out again, Laura Rutledge. I believe she's pregnant and due in a few months. She announced that. And shout out to Carrick from Coaster Hour for having me on the live stream last Friday.
How did that wind up going? I haven't seen the final results.
I ate a gigantic L.
You came in second.
I came in second in the Instagram polling, but I believe last in the
that's
YouTube
good, because
polling.
I think when I put my vote in on Instagram, you were in last.
Oh, okay.
Carrick from Coaster Hour, ya boy, came back with a vengeance in this one, Evan, because he smoked y'all.
Yeah, it wasn't close. X2 was my first pick. Might have been a reach. Should have gone with Superman the Ride.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that'll be it. Let's get out of here. So, for Corey and Eric, I'm Evan. This has been the Sports Ballers podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and we intend to talk to you next week. See you later.